the minute you start buying into yourself or what people think you should be feeling about yourself or what people are telling you should feel about yourself, or um, that you lose the ability to just be a person.
And that's one of the reasons why Sally Field has been a star since she was a literal teenager. Yes, for the past 60 plus years, Sally Field has been in our lives, either on television or in Oscar winning performances in film or even on stage. Sally Field is a Hollywood icon. I mean, I don't think there's any two ways of saying it. She is an icon. But one of the reasons why she remains an icon and remains so esteemed in terms of the performances that she's done over the years is because she's always maintained who she is, that person. She's always been relatable in any role that she is. What is so unique about Sally Field is that, she's always Sally Field, but yet she embodies these unique women, often women who you would not normally see on the big screen selling these big movies. I'm thinking of her performance in Norma Ray. I'm thinking of her performance in Places in the Heart, Steel Magnolias, Mrs. Doubtfire even, and her latest film, Remarkably Bright Creatures, based on the best-selling book. All of these women in these films are not the types of women that are the leads in these films. They aren't always likable. They aren't always nice. They aren't always sweet. They're not always getting the guy. They're uniquely complicated in a lot of ways. And Sally Field does that so, so well, which is why I was so excited to chat with her on today's episode of The Parting Shot. Now, I first read Remarkably Bright Creatures before I even knew Sally Field was going to be in the film version of it. And when it was announced that she would be starring in this film, it just made perfect sense. This is a role made for Sally Field. It's basically a woman who is a widow and she's lost her son and she's lonely and she befriends an octopus. Yes, an octopus. And the octopus kind of narrates this unique relationship this woman, Tova, has with a young man that comes to town, played by Lewis Pullman. And it is just such a special performance that I was just so honored to be able to spend any time with Sally Field. Now, Sally Field has dominated the soundtrack of my life in a lot of ways. I mean, she's changed the way I say certain things, like drink the juice.
You need some juice. Stop it, Mama. Drink the juice. Please drink the juice.
No! I mean, Steel Magnolias, like you just can't, or even I can't say, like I told her, I can't say the whole time, unlike the way she said the whole time in Mrs. Doubtfire.
The whole time you would, the whole time.
Hell, I'm out here even like quoting the Boniva commercial that she did.
I've got this one body and this one life.
There's nobody like Sally Field. And so to be able to tell her these things was just like an immense, immense honor. So you're in for a real treat today. Sit back and grab a snack because I will be right back with Sally Field to talk all about her new film, Remarkably Bright Creatures, and some other things like why she's an icon. That's a major topic for me in this conversation. Sit back. You're going to enjoy it. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you.
It's
nice
a
to meet
real
you.
honor. I
Thank
mean,
you.
what I was thinking about in watching this film is you've made a career out of creating unique women that normally they don't make movies about. And I think Tova's one of them. And because you are who you are, I think you're able to bring these women to life. What was it about Tova that wanted you to do this so badly?
I think when I first saw the project, it was in galleys, first of all. And so who knew what was going to happen with the book, which this phenomenon that took off. And I only read like 2 chapters of it and I knew I wanted to do it. And it didn't necessarily have to do with Tova. Then I examined Tova later, but it had to do with his relationship between an older woman who is very isolated and alone, and loneliness, loss, and her really profound connection that grows with a creature, in this case, a giant Pacific octopus. And that in the book, one of the magical things about the book, among other things, is that Marcellus, the octopus, is the narrator. And he sees things from his glass world. And he narrates the whole piece, in the book and the film.
Yeah.
Beautifully done by Alfred Molina.
Yeah. And he's able to do what I think you're right in that the observation of this woman, I think, is what's so fascinating to me, because in just watching the film and also reading the book, I mean, I'd read the book before it was ever announced that you were going to be in this, and I was blown away by it. And I just thought, we don't see women like this a lot on screen. We don't see these stories, women of this age and telling these stories. And I think that's a disservice, but I also love that you're the one telling this story in a lot of ways. Do you feel that about this character?
Well, I do know this. It has always been hard for me to find roles that I wanted to do, always, even in supposedly the prime of my motion picture career. It's hard to find really complicated stories about complicated women that aren't a sort of romance or a something or other. So as I've gotten older, it's certainly gotten nothing but harder. And it takes a lot of time and effort to find a project that you want to do. And for me, that it talks about older women and what it is to be older and some of the things that, whether you're male or female, that you're facing as an older person, loss, and how do you move on, and where do you live? How do you, if you're alone, what now? And because I have a recent, since the pandemic, deep connection with a creature that I never had. I never had a dog.
Oh,
my
really?
children had dogs, and they were big Goldens and would wait at the door for when were the boys coming home. They could have cared less about me. Cared less. And so I never had a dog.
Yeah.
And then weirdly in 2019, I'd been working a lot, and I wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home so bad. And I was in DC. I had done something there at the Kennedy Center, and then I was there. It was after Christmas, and I was sort of stuck. And I weirdly went online. It was 2019. I was just looking while I was in the hotel room at night, looking at websites of people who raised these little dogs. And I randomly reached out to this woman. I know you promised the litters way, way in advance. I'm sure there isn't any available. And she said, yes, they've been promised for long before the litter was born. But she said one of the people decided they didn't want the dog because these are Cavapoos, and they're usually multicolored with white and brown and black. And this one little dog was all black, and nobody wanted him. And I said, I want him. And I went, oh God, what have I done? Oh God, what have I done? I can't. I travel. I can't possibly have a dog. I went and I waited. I had to wait. He was just born. I had to wait, obviously, 8 weeks. So then it was the end of February by then, something like that. And I went out to Bakersfield in California and got this little, he was 8 weeks old. He weighed 6 pounds. Came back to my house in Pacific Palisades, and 3 weeks later we were in shutdown, and it was the pandemic, and we didn't, any of us, really see the extent of this coming like this. And I had no one. My kids and my grandkids would drive by individually and wave because I was an older person. Everybody was desperately afraid that somebody would give something. There were no vaccines. There was no remedy to this. It was sort of like, oh God, oh God.
And the dog was probably the
best.
And
he was my everything.
Wow.
And he changed me. He changed me because I have a really close connection with a creature. And I realized that human beings have this connection with creatures and always have, whether they work the farms or they entertain us or they keep us company, whether they're birds or fish or dogs or cats or all sorts of things.
Yeah. And you see that in the film. I mean, you see, and also too, I mean, speaking of connections, you see how she's able, through this connection with this octopus, to have a deeper connection with a human. This young man, Lewis Pullman, who, I mean, I saw you on the West End in All My Sons with Lewis Pullman's dad, Bill Pullman. So I love that Lewis is in this.
Yes.
And what was it like establishing that rapport with Lewis? And is he anything like his dad?
Well, he is like his dad in that he's brilliantly talented like his dad and versatile like his dad. and has this ethic. They're actors.
Yeah.
They're just actors. They don't muss or fuss with anything else. And from the get-go, I just adored Lewis. From the time he walked in the room and we started improvising, it was barely even a hello. We just became. And he informed me and I informed him. And that was the beginning of what you eventually see.
Mm-hmm.
So much of what you see on the screen is just Lewis and I it's improvisation, put it that way, improving.
Yeah. And but in order to do that, he needs to be up to par with where you are, but at the same time, there has to be this emotional connection between the two of you that it was just beautiful to watch in seeing both of you slowly open up and we've seen you do that so often in your career, but to see you do that with a new talent in a way, it just makes me remember everything, how talented you are in watching the film. It really was a beautiful experience to watch.
Gosh, thank you. That's Lewis. That's Lewis.
Yeah.
And certainly, he just in the scene, in the moment, certainly things he would do I could not have seen coming. And so it allows me just to react right then and there.
Yeah. Well, there's a thing online, a social trend right now, which I've been talking to a lot of people about doing this, speaking with you. And there's a thing called vocal stim. It's basically comforting sounds or phrases that we've had in our lives through pop culture or whatever, that when we hear it, we can't not say it the way we've always heard it from that pop culture thing.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've talked to people about doing this, you have come up over and over because of, okay, for example, drink the juice. We can't say it any other way other than the way you said it. In Mrs. Doubtfire, the whole time. I can't say the whole time without saying it 3 times. That is literally, it has changed. Even Boniva, I quote Boniva commercial. There are so many things that you've done over the course of your career that has had an impact in popular culture in a way that has changed how we do and say things. How does that feel to you to sort of have had that kind of an impact?
It's hard for me to answer that because I don't feel that kind of impact. I don't feel that at all. I don't feel that at all. And, in some ways I have to remind myself that I have accomplished anything.
Really?
Yeah. I don't feel that. And I think I feel that not yet. There's still stuff to do. I still am not there yet. I haven't crossed the finish line. There's something else. I have to get to it. I have to reach it. I have to get to it. Something that's always slightly out of your grasp.
Yeah.
Or that your reach should exceed your grasp, or what's a heaven for.
And how does that sort of not feeling it influence the performances you continue to give in your career? How does it impact how you work as an actor now at this point in your career?
I don't know, but I presume that the minute you start buying into yourself, or what people think you should be feeling about yourself, or what people are telling you should feel about yourself, or that you lose the ability to just be a person. I became a celebrity of sorts when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I've been a varying form of celebrity, big or small or in between.
Always big. Let's be real.
For my entire existence.
Yeah.
And so that has, I think, informed a lot of my personality. That I have a kind of blinders on.
Yeah.
And it comes from, I don't know that I would be any different. Maybe I would be more social, but I'm so not social. It's shocking.
Yeah.
I'm very much a hermit. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to, but I go in and live my life. I just look like a normal old woman. I wear my Dodger cap down and my braids and sweatpants and walk my dog. And I've taught myself not to look in people's faces.
Really?
Yeah. It's what, there are certain tools that you use to hide.
Yeah.
You know, and
But are
not
you observing
looking.
while you do that? Because I mean, I'm sure that must
Yes, I'm
impact
aware
what
of
you
it.
do.
I'm aware of it. And so it's good that I'm aware of it, and it
Yeah.
doesn't take hold of me. I'm still taking hold of it.
Yeah.
Because something will happen as I'm walking down, say in New York, for instance. I'll hear something, and there's a crowd of people, and I will hear something, and my instinct will be to look up and see, oh, what are they talking about, and look at these people's faces. But my instinct says, don't do it,
Yeah.
because I'll sense that they're of a certain generation, or there's something.
Yeah.
Don't look up. And so I've sort of spent my life with this voice inside my head that says, don't look up, don't look there.
Yeah.
And you have a feeling that as a celebrity early on, you're sort of kicked out of the human race. You no longer belong to the club.
Yeah.
You're someplace else.
I can tell you though, and I mean, I'm sure, I hope this for you at least, that, we look at you, fans look at you, and we see our lives. I mean, you are the film soundtrack of our lives in a lot of ways. And so when we see you continuing to work in this way, we're remembered back to that moment we saw that film or that performance, or when you won those 2 Oscars. And that must feel special to be a part of our lives in that really special way.
I just, like I say, I'm not really aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm very close to, luckily, my 3 sons, my 5 grandchildren, and my 2 magnificent daughters-in-law. And they inform me. They inform me. And they, I'm just Grammy or Mom. They could care less half the time.
Yeah.
But when do we eat? Kind of like. But they do inform me. This film, Remarkably Bright Creatures, did come to me when it was galleys before it was published, like I say. But it was brought to me by this new company, Night Owl, Brian Unglis and Peter Craig. And Peter Craig happens to be my oldest son, who he's also a magnificent writer.
Yeah.
If you look at his database, all the things that he's done, a really remarkable writer. But this was the first film out of their production company, and he wasn't able to visit the set a lot in magnificent Vancouver because he was shooting something else that he'd written and was show running in Philly at the time. But the few times he did come to visit, and one of the times will be something that I hold in my heart forever, ever after. And it is when we were shooting the last scene, or one of the last scenes, one of the most, if not the most important scene in the film, which is on the pier with Marcellus. And I won't say what happens, but it was pouring down rain. In Vancouver, it was about 32 degrees, and it's highly, highly emotional.
Yeah.
So all the way down walking, and I'm holding on to this emotion and doing this, and I'm really, 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 really cold, but trying, not showing it, doing the work. And then I couldn't go and get warm even between because it was too far away. Finally, we wrapped this one little portion of it. I could go up the ramp and sit in the car where it was warm. The car was off to the side to turn the heat on. And down the ramp came my son, Peter, dripping wet, running down the ramp to wrap his arms around me. And I will hold that memory forever, ever after.
That makes it worth it. Well, I'll end on this. It's really not a question. It's more of an apology. An entire generation had you as the villain in Mrs. Doubtfire for a long time. And now that I'm an adult and I've seen that it was very strange for the ex-husband to put on a disguise and to basically invade your home and con you, I want to apologize for ever thinking you were the villain. You were actually the hero in that film.
Well, we wanted
and
to
we
show.
all think that.
We wanted to show a divorce isn't all about enemies. Yeah. Relationships don't always last forever. So. And too bad this won't, but we'll see each other again.
I hope so. It was a real honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Quite literally, this conversation with Sally Field left me going, like, that is basically me right now. I'm shocked. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. I really do appreciate it. Leave a rating and review wherever you're listening or watching this. You can follow me at HLandScott on everything. And in the meantime, watch something fun today and have a good one.